Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the Outdo Cycling VELOGAMES podcast, I suppose. We've gone on a sort of 1 year hiatus since, I can't remember, it might have been the tour the last time we were here, but, well, at the moment, Dan, Irfan, and I are here. We may well be joined by Pedro and John later on, but obviously as people with lots of different things going on in life, and we're just sort of making the most of all of our schedules and trying to cross them as best we can. But today we're going to be talking about the Vela Games Italy, kind of, in whispers, Giro d'Italia competition. Uh, don't tell RAI.
It's
Yeah,
definitely not the Giro d'Italia.
it's definitely not in here, believe it or not. There's just a slight bit in like Italy for some reason or whatever. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about all the rider pricings. We're not going to go through the stage profiles because we, as a collective, decided that was going to be time. Because if you want to go look at the stage profiles, go look at the stage profiles. But we'll surely mention some stages throughout. But let's just talk straight away. Got the all-rounders up here, and I remember in the video I did 2 days ago, I was like, "Oh, this is it." Like, it doesn't scroll. This is it.
Mhm.
This is it for the all rounders. And I just wanted to hear what you guys think of the all rounder category and in general, and then maybe we can go through bottom.
Do you want just my general thoughts now?
Yeah, just some general thoughts, I suppose.
I mean, it's a bit limited. Um, it kind of shows you the GC field we're playing with because it's not massively inspiring. It's just the top two, isn't it? Like, I think Taberi could actually be good value if he's going to be top three or top five because he's got a time trial on him and he can punch a bit. But
Yeah.
it's also depending how you're laying your team out as well, where you're putting all your value. If you're going to have two sprinters, then you're going to need a cheaper all rounder.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. What do you think, Irfan, of the all rounders?
So there's pretty much nothing except Roglic and Ayuso. I kind of like the right field, so he should be a contender for the top 10. But, he's not for credits anymore. The club credit is quite expensive. But the thing is, we have Ayuso and we have the UAE team. We're not sure what they're going to do. I'm sure I've read somewhere that Adam is also considered since he has a GC rider, and they are not, there's no Pogacar, so we take into account one credit brings 100 points. Will Ayuso bring 2000 credits? Yes, he's good on TT, but will he be worth it? But I think I'll pick him because there's not a lot of other riders that we can pick, and those are the two GC riders that can be safer because when we look at the whole start list, so the two main team will be Red Bull and UAE, and those are not the UAE with Pogacar and no Jumbo-Visma, so they're not going to be chasing breakaways. So the number of stage wins for the GC contenders won't be like the Tour de France, so they're very little. So it's better be safe with these two, and then we can go and find some others.
Yeah, very true.
I think
I
the only
think,
one who is worth it, not
hmm,
worth it. I mean, value wise, could be Jay Vine because he's got that time
yeah,
trial and he could stay up at GC for ages. Um, because as we'll see from the profiles, there's not a huge amount of GC stages. Well, not we will see, but
yeah.
if you look at the profiles, there aren't many GC stages till later on.
Yeah, the GC like mountaintop finishes are pretty much limited to those last
Mhm.
5 days or something like that. Like stage, oh, I know
It's
it's
16, 19,
16,
20 or
19,
something.
20.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of other stages with big climbs, but with smaller, less difficult climbs to finish with. So for me, those look to be more like breakaway days. But I agree, I think Vine of these lower priced riders in the eights, I think is probably the best. I mean, Bilbao, I remember like a tour a couple of years ago was very good value for money at eight, but after, sometimes you have to also go look around the press releases and
Mm,
you'll see that Bahrain say that they are all in on Tiberi, pretty much,
yeah.
and that Bilbao and other members of the team won't have that much freedom. So they're obviously very much all in on Tiberi. So I agree. I think Vine's interesting because UE do seem to always send people into the breakaway, even though
Yeah.
they may be doing well in GC. They seem to have a greater frequency of doing that as opposed to Red Bull, Bora Hansgrohe, for example. But I think one of the interesting things to discuss, and it's certainly something which I've seen in some of the comments, is whether Roglic and Ayuso are actually worthwhile. Because obviously, there's no hiding that they are the big favourites for the race. But in terms of the amount of points that they can score based on the terrain that's available,
Mm. I don't think we've really seen a
yeah,
race like this Giro for a while, sorry, a Grand Tour like this Giro for a while, where it's so backloaded, because you are going to
mm,
be looking at those two on very little points for about 2 weeks.
yeah,
So, I mean, unless they're going to absolutely, win all the stages at the end, it could make an argument that they're not worth it. But you look at the rest of them, and they're not either, really, because they're going to be scoring points on the same stages as those two. So,
yeah,
unless you get some really expensive climbers going in the breakaway all the time, like for example, Ciccone or whoever, Stora,
mm,
maybe then you've got to bump it down here a bit. But in this category anyway, I think there's only the two at the top, and possibly a G or an Arensman because they're quite a bit cheaper and they're still time trialists, so they'll be up there early. Um, those top five really, isn't it? Because I can't see any of the bottom lot doing much on GC because they're all domestiques.
mm. Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, those top five for sure. Del Toro, Martinez. I think it's
In
a
another year, I'd pick
risk.
Martinez because
Mm,
he came third last year,
second.
second last year. Um, but he's effectively the third domestique for Roglic here. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's he has got the sprint, but the problem is that his teammate is the guy who's got the best sprint. So, you know,
yeah,
there
yeah,
you go.
exactly. I think I do like Arensman for this race because at 10 credits, I'm fairly certain pretty much all of the Grand Tours that he's done, barring maybe one or something when he was at DSM,
Hmm.
I think he's exceeded 1,000 points, and that's not through really like
He's
winning
very
stages.
consistent.
Yeah, like he'll just roll in at like seventh place and you won't really notice. But
Yeah.
and you like if you look back to last year, he dropped early and we were like, well, that's it. Arensman's done for. That was on like the
Mm.
first day. And then he came back and he still got like 1,200, 300 points.
This is
So
a bit of a throwback, but do you remember Jaime Zabeldia?
yeah, yes.
He's this generation's Jaime Zabeldia. Like, you get to the end of the Giro and he'll be 10th. You go, how did that happen?
Yeah, literally. So I think maybe the only problem for Arensman is, although we think about his TT being good, I do think that second time trial is quite short, and I'm not sure if that's his
Isn't it the
style
first one
of
that's
TT.
short?
Yeah, the first one's short. It's
Yeah,
like what 12 Ks. I
something
think the
like that with a little
second
hill
one
in the
is
middle. Yeah,
this. I think the second one is better for him because it's longer.
yeah,
But I think that he'll maybe the first one be somewhere between maybe like 11th and 15th, but then the second
yeah.
one
You got to
maybe a
be
bit
quite
higher.
punchy probably for that first one.
But I'm not sure if Rensman is. So I'm not
I
sure about
mean,
his TT.
the benefit for him is that he's a co-leader on Ineos and he's only 10.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think it's a fairly, it's not to be rude, it's a boring pick, but it's a safe pick.
Yeah, yeah. But I also agree with you. I mean, Derek G, I've been less tempted by just because, okay, he was good of a tour last year, but yes, his time trialing's good, but I wouldn't say it's,
I think
that.
this route does suit him though, because
Yeah,
there's nothing viciously steep other than that potential GC stage in the first week. And even then, it's quite a short finish. But
yeah,
Derek G is kind of just that classic diesel, isn't he? He's like Arensman. It's like anything
yeah,
over 10% and he's going to blow up. and drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's fine, I think.
And do you think? Because I'm thinking, how many points did Tiberi get last year? Because he was, what was he? Was he fourth or fifth last year? And I
That's
think
a
he
very
got
good question.
somewhere around 1,400 points. Maybe might have just been a little bit short of it, possibly. But I think Tiberi is. I think if you're going to sacrifice either one of Roglic or a Yuzo, I would say that Tiberi would be the sensible one to go with because, okay, head to head, you look at a Yuzo versus Tiberi in the time trials, a Yuzo beats him every time, but not by much, actually. If a Yuzo were to come fifth in a TT, let's say, Tiberi will likely be eighth. So the differential in points there isn't that much.
Mm.
I think that you get quite a lot of a Yuzo in Tiberi. Like you won't get all of it, like, but
Yeah,
Tiberi is a
Tiberi
good
got
alternative.
exactly, almost exactly 100 points per credit last year. He was 14 and he got 1,496. So
Okay. So he needs to basically like replicate what he did last year.
yeah, it's a good shout. I hadn't actually really thought about that.
Can he repeat what he did last year, do you think? I can't remember really what he did do last year, but
I don't, well, this is the thing. You kind of need someone who you don't really remember what they did, but they still did well on GC.
yeah,
They were just there the whole time.
yeah.
Um, at least he has the whole team around him. It's not like he's a few years into his career.
Mm,
Um, so I think he's quite trustworthy.
mm.
Um,
And like you say, if you were to, in theory, if Roglic and Yuzo are first and second in whatever order, somebody's finishing third.
yeah.
It could be Tiberi, it could be it could be G or Rensman or one of the guys in the climber categories, but realistically,
Or
I'd
you get
probably
Astana dominance and Lorenzo Fortunato wins. So
oh my God, imagine. Imagine. But I would say that yeah, if people are thinking about dropping either one of Roglic or Yuzo, I would say Taberi. I know
yeah.
that people don't really like him. It's a good thing John's not here because he would definitely, hate
There's
the
only
fact
one
that
rider he's supporting for GC here, and he's not in this list.
yeah, exactly. But Taberi is a good alternative. And if you really want to save a bit more, I would probably go over Rensman, to be honest. Those are realistically the four that I'm really considering. I just think Rensman's got more kind of Grand Tour pedigree than G does. So, and I just kind of trust Ineos a bit more than Israel Premier Tech to
Yeah.
support a GC ambition. So
I
that's
hadn't
my
considered dropping either of Roglic or Ayuso, but now you've got me thinking. So
yeah. I know. But trust me, I've been in the same boat last night. I was on shaky ground last night. But Irfan, what do you think of Roglic and Ayuso? Would you sacrifice one of those guys?
Right, right now I have both of them in my team. But like I said, if I have to sacrifice one, it would be Ayuso, just because I'm not sure of the UAE situation, and even that considering window Roglic about the when or if he crosses, and I don't think Red Bull would mind it as well because they have Danny Martinez and Hindley as well. But even though I like the red lot, I think I'll stick with Roglic and Ayuso. And the only reason someone would try to sacrifice one of them is because they're already considering to have Wood Van Aert, which we'll get into that a bit later.
Hmm. Yeah. I think what could be interesting essentially, right? Okay, maybe a few of these guys hit 100 points per credit, but at the end of the day, this might just be a bit of a lower scoring Giro, just
Mm,
full stop. And you do
yeah,
see it sometimes. I mean, some Grand Tours, 100 points per credit isn't actually correct. This is just it's a very kind of arbitrary
yeah,
measure. But some of them go above, like some of Vueltas where you get crazy breakaways. You can get up to like 12,000, 13,000, and some Grand Tours we're struggling to hit 10,000 points. So
So,
I
sorry, what do you
Roglic
think
and Ayuso
Roglic
might
would?
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
continue, sorry.
yeah, that's true. But Roglic and Ayuso, I'm honestly not sure if they will hit 100 points per credit. But I think the trickiness comes and maybe we'll go on to the climbers now, but if I sacrificed them or don't go with them, I don't know where else to put my credits.
No, exactly.
It's
That's yeah. It's a very low quality field for
mm,
trustworthiness and oh, if not these two, then this person. Because
yeah,
none of those other riders have any Grand Tour GC pedigree apart
mm,
from the asterisk next to Danny Martinez that is his pedigree, but that he's a domestique for the guy who's trying to win it. So it doesn't
yeah,
help.
yeah. But let's go take a look at the climbers.
What
Um,
will it, I just wanted to ask you, what will it take for Roglic to get 2,400 points?
I mean, well, he needs to win firstly, let's say, because winning gets you 600 points. So then he's working down like backwards. Then he's on 1,800 points that he needs. Let's say in the time trials he averages 100 points ish. That's like a seventh place, something like that. So then he's down to 1,600. The daily GC points, let's say that he gets something like, let's go on the low end of 300. So now he's down to 1,200. So then he needs, yeah, like 5 stage wins or something at that point, which probably isn't going to happen. Like he might get 3, let's say. So he might get close. I think Roglic might get somewhere just shy of 2,000 points. That's my realistic expectation of him. Ayuso, I think, will be probably a little bit behind him. Although Ayuso's got a better time trial, so he'll score a little bit more. I have less faith in Ayuso's climbing and overall GC ability, which is why if I were to sacrifice, like you were, fan, if I was to sacrifice one of the two for like Tiberi, I think it would be Ayuso.
It's going to come down to combinations, isn't it? Because there's going to be,
Yeah,
the most efficient spending of credits. You could get 4 10 creditors who are the best team at the end of the day, even if you don't have the winner, but you get like, I don't know, 3 4 5 6, for example, on GC. I don't know.
Mm, yeah, it might not necessarily be a Giro of most, kind of like in the Tour where most of your budget is already taken up by Poggy or Jonas
Yeah.
or both.
yeah.
It's just going to be one of those where instead of you focusing on efficiency and getting the most bang for buck out of riders, it might just be a case of who's just actually going to be scoring the most. Like in the stage races, where you don't really think about points per credit. You just kind of
No.
go, this person, like Remco for Romandy. It's like, okay, he's really expensive, but he's going to score quite high. And maybe you just need to go with, maybe it's more that mentality. Because if you go, I'm going to go for the most efficient team. It's going to cost you
Yeah.
78 credits. And it's like, okay, great. You've got the most efficient team, but actually you haven't got the,
Once you get to the back, the thing is, you might score quite well for 2.5 weeks, but once the
yeah.
GC starts happening, you're just going to plummet because
Mm,
what Roglic is probably going to be like, 80+% picked, I would have thought, at least 90,
yeah.
because everyone thinks he's going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
If this is in the race.
But I suppose, like we sort of hinted at, the problem is that if you do decide to not go with them, then where else do you put your points? Because the climber category, I said this in my video, I am just not a massive fan of this category because of the fact that the only stages these guys are going to be scoring on are like those last few days. It's possible to get into breakaways, absolutely. But if they're relatively close on GC, are they going to be allowed to do that? Or do Red Bull and UAE might just stare each other into the abyss and let Carapaz or Bernal or Store or whoever go into a breakaway, and then they gain loads of time and they're like, oh, actually, we've made a huge error here. But right, in terms of points per credit, the number of riders who get over, say, 1,400 points in a Grand Tour is quite small. It's probably only 4 riders or so, let's say.
mm,
And I'd say that's probably going to be like Roglic, Ayuso, and maybe like 2 sprinters or something, depending on how the sprints go. And I just don't see the opportunities for somebody like Adam Yates or Landa who don't have a time trial to get 1,400 points across the race.
yeah.
Is that Is that short-sighted, or are you guys seeing different?
I don't know. I just think you can't really pick any of those top guys if you've got Roglic and Ayuso. So they almost become, and I don't trust any of them to outscore Ayuso. So it becomes a kind of almost a moot point of, well, Adam Yates is on domestique duties, but I personally think he could podium if everyone else is rubbish. Because that last week is so hard. Lander's Lander, do whatever. I do like Bernal, but he's had that interrupted year with the collarbone. And the rest of them, I think Ciccone has said he's going for. He usually goes for GC at the Giro, doesn't he?
Mm,
Um, so I
Yeah,
can see him as someone who'll go for stages, lose time early because he hasn't got the best TT. Over a short distance he'll be okay. I think he'll do top 20 in that stage two maybe. But he should really be losing time to then go and get a stage and come back again. But then all of these guys are going to be doing that pretty much, apart from maybe Bernal, because Bernal can probably be consistent and just stay up there. But all of them have off days. Like you wouldn't pick any of them to be consistent. Yeah, but consistently in breakaways, yeah, but not not GC or anything. So
mm.
I don't. It'd be really exciting. Like if you're a Lander fan or a Bernal fan or a Carapaz fan, or you're Australian, you're probably going to pick one of them and ditch maybe
we are
a so real glitch. But
Yeah.
even me being British and having an obsession with the 2018 Giro d'Italia, I'm not picking Simon Yates. So
Yeah. Yeah. An unhealthy obsession with Yates
shh.
to if everything else plays back. You know,
Yates and Hater, what can I say? I have awful taste in cyclists.
not literally. If they're not both in your team later on, I'm gonna be really confused. But I think you're right. Yeah, like it's very. I think you're absolutely right. You could see a Yates or a Lander or any one of these climbers really just scaling up the GC in those last 5 days or whatever. But is that going to be enough for them to score all their points? It might not be. Maybe as a 12 credit rider, like let's say Storer, because he was amazing in Tour of the Alps. If in those last however many, like stage 16, 19, 20, he finishes on the like he finishes third on all those days, then that's what, 160 points. So that'll be like 480 points plus the end of tour points, which is like 400. Then he's up to 800 and, you know, 880 points. If he gets in a breakaway and he, gets a win there, then, he's getting pretty close to 100 points per credit. Especially since he's not got a great TT, so he can lose time. And it's certainly possible that one of these climbers could be really worth it. My only problem is that the climbers, you need them to get to that final week to score, and every
Yeah.
stage is a threat for a crash or illness, which always happens in the Giro
And as we'll see
because it's
later,
always
there's
wet.
so much value in the guys that are half that price and can still go in the same stages that
Yeah,
it's maybe 2019 I'd have picked
yeah,
some of them, but
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think one of these guys. I think probably like I am tempted by a Storer, Bernal, Carapaz, Ciccone. I think one of them's going to be worth it. I'm just not willing to put my neck on the line because I think that it could backfire.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but let's take a look a little bit further down as well. Obviously, you mentioned Ciccone, Dan. Got Hindley here, who actually last time he was this price, he won the race, which was
That was
that,
just a
that
weird
was
Euro, but yeah.
that was a weird Giro altogether. But I think these lower down priced riders are actually some of the more interesting ones because again, there's not loads which are jumping out to me. I prefer, upon taking a bit of a closer look at it, I prefer the 8 credit ones to the 6 credit ones. Usually, you find like there's some absolute bargain, but none of them are that great for me. I'm just like, I'm about a car if he's not in the race anymore. So that removes one thing
Hmm.
to think
Yeah.
about. But like a free go would be tempting just because of that Tour of the Alps win. that one stage win, but nobody else here. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really jumping out at me.
There's a lot of 2017 going on in that six credit bracket, and it's not it. Yeah, we're about 7 or 8 years late for half of these people. Um,
Yeah.
but there's actually some really exciting. I say exciting in the loosest sense. Um, Steinhauser had a fantastic
Mm,
Giro last year. His rider type kind of doesn't fit what he does really, 'cause he's quite tall and strong, but he's somehow fantastic at these lone range mountain raids. So I really like he's in my team at the moment. Really like him. Um, and Rubio because he's again well he's actually Latin American, isn't he? So he fits the high Marzabellia Spanish thing of he'll probably be in loads of breakaways and then he'll be top 10 at the end of it because I think he was seventh last year, wasn't he, at the Euro or eighth
yeah, I
something.
remember
Um,
painfully going with. I was like, oh, should I go? I was very tempted to go with him, but I went with Piffy in my wild card slot last year instead of him, and that's always just a bit of a mantra where sometimes it's people talk about the double sprinter strategy, but last time I
mm.
definitely should have gone with another GC rider.
Yeah, normally I don't pick Astana riders full stop or Fortunato, but I think I've got him at the moment unless I've switched him out already because Astana just seems to be one of those teams this year where they're just pick their riders because
Yeah.
they need so many points and you get so many points for GC at a Grand Tour that you know I don't think he
Mm.
could finish. He could. I think he could just as feasibly finish top 10 as any of those top eight credit riders.
Yeah. Well, don't tell Josh. You'll never hear the end of it.
No, according to Josh, Astana are winning the whole thing. So
Oh, really? That Fortunato for sure. Like he's kind of on the cusp with my team, just because Romandy was very encouraging. And up to Tion 2000, where he was up there with you know although struggling an awful lot. He was up there with
hanging on by the skin of his
Almeida,
teeth.
yeah, like Almeida and Vine and Lenny Martinez. It was really impressive. He hung on a lot longer than I thought he would do. And then even at the end, he like kind of sprinted as you can, as best you can do at the top of a mountain, but sprinted away from Jay Vine. And I was like, actually, Fortunato's looking really good. He actually benefits from having a bad TT because he'll probably be able to go into a breakaway. And as a GC rider, he's probably a little bit underrated. So yeah, Fortunato for sure. I like. Um,
I
anyone
think,
else?
I think in terms of I don't know. I hope Pulte don't make Piganzoli go for GC because it's just so boring. Um, he really should go for KOM because I think we wanted him to last year and we must have been a six credit last year.
Hmm.
Um, so I like that, but it's risky because there's going to be so many. Most of this category is going to be going for the KOM jersey. Um, but as a British person, I have to say Max Paul because he has a time trial and it's DSM and they need points. So
Yeah.
sometimes it just works. Like you go into the Vuelta and it's like this team needs points. Just pick their GC rider because they have to be top 10. Otherwise, they're screwed. So, I
Yeah. That's true.
mean, I'm not
What
picking
about
him over Bardet because Bardet seems to just not want to do anything. So
that's
I'll just
true.
follow the kids. I'll do it. I'm going to help the kids out. Like, well, okay, pick Max Paul then.
Yeah. I did look at Picnic Postonel's press release and it did again, it's kind of smoke and mirrors sometimes, but they did seem to insinuate that yeah, it's going to be Bardet and Poole, but actually Bardet might be leading their team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I
He
think
did
that
last. Is it? I mean, he retires next month, so
yeah, literally.
which is I feel so old saying that, but
Yeah, I know.
go out with a bang, get a stage win.
Well, that's what I think is that he's yeah, like he's fairly safe for a top 10. Doesn't have the greatest TT. He's quite good at getting in breakaways. At 8 credits, is he, how many times has Bardet probably been around 800 points or scored 800
Probably
points
most
in
of
a
his
Grand Tour?
career.
Yeah, it's like probably most of the time, isn't it? So I think that, yeah, I like the ones you mentioned. I like Bardet. I like Fortunato. I like Steinhauser. He's
Notice how
actually
we've just completely brushed past Nairo Quintana.
mate, if he was a 6 credit unclassified,
Yeah,
maybe I'd be tempted to. Steinhauser's actually I think he's the bookie's favourite to win KOM,
yeah. Which
which is
I'm not surprised by, but seeing as he hasn't got a huge pedigree, and apart from he won a stage obviously at the Giro last year, but he hasn't done a massive amount to follow up on it.
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
I
I know what
like
you
him.
mean.
I like him just because he probably, if he does go for KOM, he's getting that those 800 points. So
Yeah, and also EF with the removal of Carthy and somebody else from our team, but they put in like Darren Rafferty and
that's
Casper
green.
Asgreen.
Yeah.
So realistically, the number of climbers they have is like Cepeda, who's just, he does well in Tour of the Alps and that's it. And then, but like Carapaz is their other climber, then Steinhauser. So realistically,
Mm.
Steinhauser's kind of their guy to get in those
It
mountain
would be
profiles.
ironic though if Steinhauser's the favorite for KOM and then Carapaz is like, nope, mine.
Dude, it might happen. It might happen.
So
But yeah, so
mm.
Steinhauser's tempting for me. I'm definitely at the moment I'm between like a Steinhauser, Bardet, and Fortunato. I was dabbling with Caruso a lot until I saw Bahrain say that he's just going to be Taveri's shadow pretty much
Well,
throughout the whole
press
race.
release is always a bit not
Yeah.
misleading, but it's what the media team or the team wants the media team to say. And
Mm,
Caruso came, was it second the year that Bernal won?
yeah.
He's just the kind of rider where I know he's, you know, I'm probably within a few years of him, so I can't say it too much, getting on a bit. But, he's a wily Italian at his home Grand Tour. And if there's bad weather, he's probably one of those that's always going to be up there because he just always seems to be up there.
And he was good in Tour of the Alps, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't
on
watch a huge amount of it, but yeah, I'm sure he was up there. But
yeah, because obviously Taveri left after
oh, of course he was DNF, didn't he? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And he's got a TT. Caruso's just one of those classic solid GT guy. Yeah, Grand Tour guys who just he has a time trial. He's there in the third week.
Oh.
Again, he's like the Italian Arensman. He's just there.
Right, so now that we've covered the climbers, I guess now the next thing is to go look at the sprinters. I'm trying my best just to kind of like, I can't cover my team up. It's slowly being revealed as
Team
we
reveal.
go through. But obviously, Pedro's joined the room, the virtual room, and I guess it would be only fitting for Pedro to start us off with the sprinters and who you think some of the best ones are that you think people might pick.
I mean, I think you have only two smart options here, which is you either go with the top four, and you spend quite a few credits, especially with Van Aert and Mats, because they are very versatile. They will probably compete in more sprints and aim for more wins than the other sprinters, like Koi, for example. Either you go with Mads or Wout, um, or Koi or Groves, more pure sprinters, or you go with the 6 credits. I mean, the 8 credits, it's not worth it, because I believe guys like Fretin and Moschetti, they have as much value as any of the 8 credits riders, I mean, personally, I've considered Mads Pedersen, but I mean it's a lot of credits to spend in a in a sprinter. I really like Groves because he can climb. He's probably top 3, the fastest sprinters here. In real flat sprints, and I also like probably Freta. Yeah, I'd say I'd either go with Mads, Groves, or Freta. It all depends on what kind of budget you have available for your sprinters, or if you wanna spend your wild card with a sprinter. I mean, I can blame you. Right now, I'm at that point. I have my wild card and Freta. I'm trying to get Groves, but it's not easy. I
Mm.
mean, I'll probably just end up saving a few credits with Freta.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very resounding and fair assessment of it all. I think for me, the only thing, and again, it's probably quite a good thing that John isn't in here, is the Lido Trek ambassador, I suppose. But it's not easy for a sprinter of 14 credits to get like 1,400 points. Milan has done it the last couple of years when he was, I can't remember how expensive he was last year. Was he 12 credits? Something like that. And then he was 8 credits when he was in Bahrain victorious. So, and he got like 1,600 points both of those times. But that's Jonathan Milan, who's tears up the pure bunch sprints. And Pedersen just in a pure bunch sprint, he's all right. But I don't see him winning the pure bunch sprints. I think those will go to Coy most of the time. So Pedersen, I think he is still going to be good. He's going to score lots of points, but especially since he'll be quite good in the stage 2 time trial as well, I expect. But I think, yeah, you've got lots of options here in the sprinters, and I think that a double sprinter strategy is quite viable this time around.
Yeah, I'm going to completely go against what Pedro said with Wout because he's said he's ill basically, and he's there to help Coy anyway. So I don't even think he'd be worth it if he was 8 credits at this Giro, because he's not going to be sprinting in the pure bunch sprint, and he might win a stage or two from a breakaway or a reduced sprint, but that's this isn't whatever year it was. Was it 2023 Wout, 2022 Wout, the
22.
How to Cam Wout?
Yeah,
um,
22. Oh,
yeah, who just won everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm almost tempted. I've got Caden Groves at the moment just because he will be competitive in all the sprints and he can climb. But I wouldn't.
mm,
It wouldn't be ridiculous. I mean, I think I saw in your original video, Paddy, with the sprinters, it wouldn't be ridiculous to go like just put both of them down to 6, because Fretan and I mean Leonardi's been consistent throughout the whole year.
yeah,
I mean, admittedly, it's dot pro races, but
yeah.
um, he is, you know, he's been fine all year. Um, Fretan's the one I think is underrated. I think he should be an 8 or a 10.
Mm,
Because Cofidis don't really have anything else going in their team. So I think I don't know how good his climbing is because we haven't really seen him at these sorts of races where you have to last 3 weeks and get over. This might be his Grand Tour debut actually. Um, have to get over climbs and go for intermediate sprints, or he might just be here to get some World Tour wins for Cofidis because I don't think they even have won a World Tour race this year. Um, I can't think of one if they have.
well, didn't Arambaru
Picard
get
might have
his?
won in Tour Down Under, or maybe that was last year.
Didn't like Arambaru get his rescinded and then given back to
Oh,
him?
I remember it. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, so they have one, and that was on
Yeah.
a technicality
Yes.
because he went the right way.
Yeah.
Um,
Good old UCI.
yeah. So I really like Fretan for the pure sprints because I think he can even beat Coy in the pure sprints. Um, but for the overall jersey, probably I just trust Groves because he's
Yeah.
cheap. He's cheaper than Mads. Um, I prefer Mads as a rider. Like he's one of my favorite riders, but because he's 4 credits more than Groves, and he does exactly the same thing. So,
Mm,
except Groves
yeah.
doesn't have a time trial, but I don't think you're buying Pedersen for his time trial.
Yeah. And also that Groves has got a whole lead out train around him, whereas Pedersen's is comparatively,
It's a bit more versatile, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Supporting
designed to,
Chico.
yeah, to like wear everybody down.
Yeah.
And Pedersen will do good from a reduced sprint, but he doesn't have that
I'm
big a lead
excited
out.
to see Magnier, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
I would
true.
have preferred to see him almost do it last year when he was flying and winning stuff like in Oman and wherever he was winning
Yeah.
uphill sprints. And he seems to have a lot. He had maybe he crashed or was ill at some point, but I really like Magnier, and I think with a slightly thinner field, he could actually win the jersey here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if this Giro was in February of this year, Magnier would be absolutely fantastic. But
But it's
he's,
like put the World Championships in February for Wellens, isn't it?
yeah, basically. I
But
think, yeah, going back to Groves, I think he does make a lot of sense. He very consistently scores above 1,000 points in pretty much most Grand Tours he competes in. Most of them are the it's the Vuelta Tour of Giro, but he does pretty much, and he's
He's
pretty
not allowed to go.
consistent.
He's not allowed to do the tour.
Yeah, like he's had one DNF or something. I think it might have been last year actually, or the year before. He DNF for Giro, but he's pretty consistent. He's got a whole lead-out train around him. Alpecin have nothing else to do except support him,
No,
pretty
exactly. Yeah,
much. So
they
I
don't
think
even have a
Groves,
GC rider.
yeah. But I do think in terms of the absolute who's going to be winning the most stages, I still think it's Coy.
Oh yeah,
I
but
think that
the
Coy
point
could
it's
win.
quite confusing. Not confusing. It's difficult to work out because the points classification, the Chiclamino jersey, is so heavily weighted towards the pure sprints because you get 50 points for a stage win, and then on the
Mm,
versatile stages you get, I think it's like 25 or 15 or something. So it's massively weighted. I mean, that's why Milan's done so well in the last couple of years because I think they changed it the year he won it, and massively weighted with that. So Coy could. That's a alliteration. Coy could just be in the jersey for ages, but then either can't get through the last week, and then it's whoever's behind him. Um, which that's then going to be Groves or Pedersen, I think. Although
yeah,
I might be overlooking Sam Bennett, but it feels like a bit of a meme because everyone seems to be writing Sam Bennett off, even though he's had quite a good year.
yeah, that's true. I just think Coy with a lead out from Wout and Art's just pretty good. I could see Coy getting 3 or 4 stage wins here.
Mm.
As
Does
like
it matter if he doesn't win Chiclamino if that happens?
not massively, because Chiclamino gets you like 120 points for winning it
Okay.
at the end of the race versus second place is like 100. So the
Okay.
drop off is pretty small. So I mean, I don't know
Go
whether
for Coy
Jordan
then.
watches these, but I
If you've
would
got
like to see
two
the
credits
points
lying
class.
around, go for Coy.
Yeah, I would like to, see the points classification or KOM classification, or maybe just the points classification like bumped up in terms of end of tour points a little
Mm.
bit, because I do feel like maybe they're a little bit still a little low down. I can get the mountains classification because that's usually just a proxy to who does well in GC.
Mm.
But the
I
points
think potentially
classification,
just the small problem with Coy is that he hasn't raced since Ghent Wevelgem when he broke his collarbone. So
that's very true.
he's been training with the World Tour team, obviously World Tour team. I mean the Giro team.
Yeah.
um, um, but he is the fastest there. So
Mm, exactly. So
Yeah.
I agree with Pedro. I think pretty much either go Pedersen, Coy, or Groves, whichever one you like the most, or depending on your budget, and then go straight down to the 6 credits if you need to save budget and go with Fretan, Lenardi, or Moschetti, pretty much. I think that's a pretty resounding
yeah,
summary of that. So, with that, should we take a look at the unclassified riders? Pidcock. We're back again with Pidcock being 10 credits as an unclassified rider. What do we think about that?
it's the GTA meme of oh shit, here we go again. I'm picking him because I can't not like I don't know if he'll win KOM, but I certainly think he's got. I mean, I was about to say a handful of stages in him then. I don't think he'll win 3 stages, but he can certainly win one or two possibly. Um, yeah, but I do. It goes back to that stupid efficiency thing again. Like, is Pidcock scoring 1,000 points?
I think he could do.
I mean,
It's a lot of stages, though.
I'd rather have him than not, but then I'm quite biased. So,
Yeah, I know what you mean. He's been in most of my teams until now, but it's been reluctant that I've let go just because I think that he is very competitive for a lot of stages.
I was quite
That's my
surprised that he's in the unclassed riders, to be honest. Like, I
where
really,
would you put him?
well, he's a climber
Yeah,
because you put the time trialists who are GC riders in the all rounder, and then you get your sort of classicsy sort of riders in the climber category. And I don't, I mean, admittedly, Tom Pidcock has never done it in the GC. Has he? Was he top? He was 12th at the tour last year, 2 years ago, wasn't he?
yeah,
Something. Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe he's just that a cross section of riders. So George has put me down classed, but I think if he was in climber, he'd probably be 12, maybe.
yeah.
Quickly glancing at the stage profiles, there's got to be at least 6 stages where it wouldn't surprise me if he won.
Mm.
You know, yeah. So he'll probably be worth it. I think I read this afternoon that he wasn't going for stages for GC,
Mm.
and it was on stage hunting mode. So that would pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I we'll go through your if you had to put a number on how many points Pidcock's gonna get in this race, what number are you gonna put on it? Because I think Pidcock in a good race, I reckon he could get, I want to say something like 1,100.
I think if he gets a couple of stages or more, and he gets, I'm basically loading it all onto him, like top 10 GC,
Yeah.
few stages. He's getting more points than Roglic.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it will be over 1,000, below 1,100.
Okay.
Yeah. He's coming on my team anyway, so it doesn't matter if he scores naught.
Yeah. Yeah. I think 1,100, I think, is probably more like
Yeah.
An upper guess. I think realistically, based upon historical trends of this price of Pidcock, he'll get somewhere around 700 to 800. That's my kind of realistic look at it.
The thing is, if he does, probably your team will be doing very well until the next week. You know, you'll probably You'll probably carry your team for a bit. And if you have a strategy where you go for climbers, going for stage hunting, where they will have probably opportunities in the last week or so, Pidcock can be an interesting one to keep your team high on the rankings.
Irfan, how many points do you think Pidcock will score?
I'm expecting which way was it? 2002 Giro Van der Poel type from Pidcock. Let's say 1,200.
8 credit riders. Scaroni, Ulissi, Vacek. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, I'll jump in.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm hoping that Matthias will do something drastic, but I don't really think he will. He might do. It's
Wow.
possible.
How are any of us supposed to have any faith if you don't, John?
He's winning the time trial on stage 2, John.
That's fine. He'll be in pink.
Yeah.
He'll be fine.
This is the thing. Do you know what this is this is exactly the same as, do you remember when Magnus Cort Nielsen had an absolutely amazing Vuelta in 2021, was it? And he scored loads of points, and then everybody for years after that put him on as an 8 credit guy because they're like, he's gonna do it again, and he hasn't. It's the same thing. Vacek had an amazing Vuelta last year, and we all pointed it out. I'm fairly certain we were all very much on the money with he's got the TT in the sprint, and he did amazing. But yeah, I think with Pedersen here, Vacek's not going to have those sprinting opportunities.
He won't do.
However tempted I am with a Scaroni and Ulissi, because Astana are just on, they're just a different breed at the moment.
They're just getting points. They're just getting points.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Everywhere.
But do you know what these guys remind me of when I put Van Hills on for my Tour de France team last year, thinking he is going to compete in 6 stages. He's going to be amazing, and it didn't come to fruition. And for some reason, the 8 credit unclassified riders don't generally, not all the time, generally don't do that well, or they don't hit their 800 point quota that I kind of set. They generally don't do as great as some 6 credit riders. And I think there are plenty of 6 credit riders who I really like, who I think will do better than Scaroni and Ulissi, or at least just as good.
If I had to go with one, it would be Scaroni probably.
Yeah.
is in farming for your CI points, and he'll probably try to go on a few breakaways, and he's quite fast. In reduced groups, he's quite punchy. He could score a few points, but I don't think he will get to 800 points.
Yeah, it's
I'd
a
say
lot.
500, something like that.
Yeah, like at that price, you really need to be more like a GC contender and sneaking a top 10 or a top 15 in GC rather than just relying solely on just stage points. But let's move into the 6 credit riders. I'm not sure exactly the best way to do this now that we are all here, which is great to see. Whether because obviously I don't want to go through, like, we're not going to go through every single one. We would just want to point out who the best ones are. So
You need to go down the list.
yeah. Do you want me to, what is it? Is there a legal track rider that you're liking the look of?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Hang on, I'll have a look.
What about your homework?
The only Scar is there, but I can't imagine him. He's only just come back, and I can't see him scoring
Hmm.
points anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll go through and I'll just throw some names out, and then we can just discuss those names plus any extras that people like the look of. So I've really kind of whittled it down. Bauman could be quite good for if he goes for the KOM classification, but Jake Walula have so many attackers that I'm just not sure if it will be him or any of a number of climbers. Brenner possibly. Like, he was all right in Giro d'Abruzzo, but he was dropped by George Zimmerman and other people, so maybe not the most confidence in him, but he has had an okay year, to be fair to him. Catania just for a couple of top tens in the time trials. Fiorelli should really be in the sprinter category, I would say. So it's kind of like a person out of position. Harper.
Did you see the debate that we had in the WhatsApp the other day? Because I brought up Fiorelli because you did, and then it roundly disproved that actually it's Zanoncello who's the sprinter for them.
Is it? Well,
Yeah,
I think so.
but Fiorelli, I remember back-to-back Cav victory in Rome where G led him out, and Fiorelli
I mean,
was third.
did you see that top 10?
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, Fiorelli, whatever. We could
A punchy guy who might be top 20 in a sprint, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But is that going to be enough to 6 credit? Anyway, but
I think Zanoncello is still in this category, so it's fine.
yeah. Harper, I like. Apparently the GC leader for Jayco. I think that's a really good one.
Can't believe you just skipped over Hater. God.
I'm sorry.
I'm offended. He's
Someone
going to win.
pick him.
He's going to win the time trial, and then he's going to be in pink.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Ethan.
I couldn't keep a straight face saying that.
Ethan Hayter to score 1,800 points.
He's only 6 credits.
He's going to win.
It's
a good point.
Him.
Yeah, it is a fair point, but if he was sprinting, I think it'd be good.
But even Ethan Hayter doesn't sprint anymore, so it's null and void. He's just there to help Lander out on the long mountain stages.
I just can't deal with the pain anymore of Hayter.
We're reformed now. We're reformed. We don't need to be.
I'm going to keep you to that.
I'm just going to I feel like a person coming out of rehab. I'm still getting there.
Yeah.
After all those years of
I
picking
picked him twice this year already, and it never went well. So.
You see, Dan, you're still in the program at this point. Like, you still need to. You're still on. Like, you need to come out.
It's only because Sandra and Pedro told me to.
Conrad, I quite like. I mean, this is a guy who's Conrad's won a Tour de France stage. Yeah, I mean, I know it was years ago.
Yeah, he won Tour de France stage a few years ago. Yeah,
Conrad's quite a cool one. Plap, I quite like as well. 6 credits, good time trial, getting some breakaways as well. Wout Pools, crazy good pick, I think, as well. Just won the Tour de Turquie. Honestly, my life would actually be easier if Wout Pools was a 6 credit climber in this race rather than in the unclassified rider.
Yeah, but he's too good for that category of 6 credit climbers because the rest of them are rubbish.
Yeah, that's true. Tarling, I think Tarling is just a safe pick for probably getting 2 time trial victories. I think there are going to be other riders in here who will score more than him, but he's just the nice kind of backstop, I suppose, just to put in. And yeah, there is Zanoncello. Is this the right one? Because I know that there's
Yep,
another person in my team that begins with a Z, and I've got this wrong before.
it's definitely Zanoncello. He came
Okay, so
eighth at the in a sprint at UAE Tour, so he's no
did he?
donkey.
Okay, well there you go. So there is another sprint if you want it. We'll save the falls. So who? I guess we'll go through kind of like one by one. So my screen, that's Dan, Irfan, Pedro, John. We'll go through who you guys have as your favorite, or maybe like a top three if you can't decide on your 6 credit riders. So Dan, who's like your top or top three 6 credit riders?
Poles,
Uh-huh.
Harper, Tarling.
Nice.
I just think they're the safest.
Yeah.
There's way
Well,
more exciting picks, but I think they're all three of those will exceed 600 because Harper, I genuinely think Harper could get a good GC result, even by accident. But he's in that bracket of, like, for example, when we come around to Italy in the classics at Giro dell'Emilia, he's always up there with the top 10. So I think he's pretty underpriced actually. He could probably be an 8.
mm,
Poles is a generational talent, so he's going to win everything. He needs to get that trilogy, doesn't he? He needs to get that. Is it Triple Crown they call it? The third a stage win in every Grand Tour.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, Tarling's Tarling. He's going to win both TTs, and I mean he could do a Ganna and go off for in a breakaway or something. So yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
quite boring, but I feel
Yeah.
like they're quite safe.
Yeah. Okay. Irfan?
So I usually pick 3 different writers. I like to find that sprinter that is usually in the uncross category, and I hope I'm just not wrong. I think Ben Turner is a good choice here, and I'm not sure about his time trial, but I think he'll be the sprinter for Ineos. Moving up to the next categories, like the guy that I think will win most of the breakaways, and I think his form is pretty good. That should be Wood Pearls. And I also try to find usually a guy that I think will be doing GC, and I think this one should be Chris Harper. And there are some guys that I saw, I think just have to be some guys mentioned is usually Quentin Hermans, Silva Monique, and Stefano Oldani. Those guys usually they're not that bad when they do for the Giro, and they usually go into the breakaways and usually fight for their stage wins. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Nice. Pedro?
I mean, I agree with Dan, but just to be a bit different, I would say Tarling, uh, Arbor as a GC kind of option, and I would go with Blap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because of the TTs, I think he'll have the freedom to go for the stage he wants to go to, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think some of the stages, those medium mountain stages, he can just be on the breakaway and right away from the rest
Yeah.
of the group with his TT abilities. I think it's a valid option too. But of course, Poles, I mean, Astana riders are gonna be going for it for sure. But I
Yeah.
would say Tarling, then Harper, and then Blab probably.
Okay. And then John, I presume, Carlos Verona,
Wrong.
Dan Holer, Patrick Conrad.
And Scar. You can only have 3. I'm sort of settled with, well, I'm thinking about Wout Poles because of who he is and Astana and everything else. But I'll throw in Michael Valgren into the equation.
That's
Um,
a good one.
I've kicked him out 3 times so far, and he keeps he keeps reappearing on my to-do list. I want him to do well, which means he won't.
Back to the heads up.
And I've actually got an extra choice for you that everybody's missed so far from Q36.5. So I'll let you go through the list and find it.
Oh, right from Q36.5. Oh, Emils.
Yeah. I, he, he, he's only ever gone on lead out duties since January the 1st. But he's not going to score any points, put it that way.
Great pick, John. Great pick.
Thanks for 50
He
points.
won't. He won't, because he's of the position where 33 Q36 are the only team basically that offered him anything. So he's lumbered with what he's got, and he ain't going to get anywhere. So I can't, in all honesty, put any hopes on him.
You're all going to hate this, but EF have put out their
Oh God.
team with the interviews, and Georg Steinhauser said he's going to support Richie.
Oh well, he's out.
So that's fantastic news.
Oh no, Dan, it's all smoke and mirrors. You can't trust a
I know.
single thing.
I should just believe what I said at the start, where you just can't believe and pick who you want. But
You can't. I would
why
also
was
say
Carapaz's only domestique a German climber who wants to go for KOM?
it's ridiculous. I'm actually surprised they didn't release their team like, the morning or tomorrow night, something.
The new kit is quite nice. It's just white,
they-
which is weird because it's the best Young Riders jersey. But
Oh, it's just white.
yeah, it's very.
They couldn't announce it tomorrow because the presentation was tonight,
Oh yeah,
just to
that's true.
confuse everything, because it's Friday, starting on Friday.
Yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
gone quit.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't just have like little masks on so nobody could tell who they were, like Phantom of the Opera or something like that. But anyway, one final name I just skipped over was also Nicholas Prodom, who obviously won a stage of Tour of the Alps. He looked really good there, to be fair. On that stage, which he did win, when what was it, Paul Cesar attacked, Prodom got across to him pretty swiftly when he decided that he needed to. And given that Decathlon pretty much only have him and Geoffrey Bouchard as their only climbers in the race, I suppose they'll have quite a lot of opportunity within their team to go and do their own thing. But I do like your Valgren pick, John. He was very good. What was it, Stradi? I think, or is it Class? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Strade was up there. Yeah,
Yeah, really cool pick. I do like that. And then the four credit riders. Funnily enough, four credit riders haven't really crossed my radar because I haven't
no, haven't needed
to
them.
pick them. But just to throw some out there, the Bice brothers.
Yeah, but
One of
whichever
them will
one I
score
pick,
500 points.
yeah,
Still,
whichever one I pick will be the one who doesn't go in the break.
yeah. Which one won the stage? I still was it Davide?
Thing is, I can never remember which one is the better one, and I always check,
Yeah,
and I can never remember. Like one of them will be in every breakaway, picking up
Yeah,
all the tiny KOM points and the intermediate.
yeah.
One of them is going to be because of that Red Bull Columbus thingy being further on. Probably one of them is going to be high up in GC.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
We've got
I had Bodan last year, so
Oh,
it
of
would be
course.
hard to match.
That's a
yeah,
shout. Yeah.
that's true. That's a good idea.
I haven't even looked at the
Mm.
fours, I don't think. Oh, it's
No, I
Eulogio. Ah.
we got Irfan's pick from a couple of years ago, Nico Dent.
Is he going to be
Mr.
sprinting?
Is he sprinting? Did he get 14th place in a Romandy sprinter?
Yeah, probably.
I still remember that was outstanding when you did that.
But I don't think he's coming. He's going to go back away to this time.
Roglic isn't letting him off the leash this year.
With Gianni Moscon, he's more likely to sprint on him.
Yeah. Pedro, how many points is Afonso getting? 800? 1,000?
Probably 80 points.
That's just all assist
But I
points.
mean, I have a lot of faith in this kid, you know. Actually, the stages kind of suit his style of rider. You know, I think those who picked him for Volta a Portugal last year, we were very happy with his performance. Um, he's actually pretty good in those medium mountain stages. Um, let's see if he gets the freedom to go for it. You know, it's his first Grand Tour. I think he'll be allowed to go on at least one of those stages for the break, and I think he might actually do pretty well.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
Mm.
I would say Gianmarco Garofoli. Firstly, cool name, but secondly, actually quite a good rider. Well, I think it was the last stage of Basque Country, that absolutely horrific wet one where everybody almost died or something. It was a really brutal day, but he was just, I think he was like 11th or 12th on that stage. He is a very good climber, and if Soudal Quickstep don't just chain him to Landa, I'd be very excited to see what Garofoli can do, especially in a contract year and on home soil. Really excited to see what he can do. My only problem is that
Over Ineos' sprinter.
what you mean, Hajduk?
Hajduk, he's a better sprinter than anyone else they've got on their team. And he actually does do sprints.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
He was
Fair
leading
shout.
out, well, before he retired, he was leading out Ewan. So, yeah.
Oh
I
God.
mean,
Yeah.
for 4 credits, there's not much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. I think that's certainly worthwhile thinking about. I just keep getting PTSD. I just got it back to when we did the tour last year, and we were in the 4 credit riders, and we were absolutely just like, who is like the least worst person
Mm.
here? And we decided it was Anthony Turgis, who actually then
Oh,
went
yeah.
to go and win a stage, and I didn't pick him because I'm an idiot. I
Love
remember,
that. I
I
couldn't
remember
believe
that.
that's such an insane stage, and then it's Anthony Turgis of all people that wins it. It's amazing.
Yeah, we were just like, we were just like, well, he's sprinting to, a top 15 in this pro race, so maybe he'll be all right. And he got some top 20s and then he won a stage. And I was like, I'm sorry. This isn't fair that I pointed him out. I remember us saying we were like, only 2 riders in this 4 credit bracket have finished on the podium of a monument, and that's Dillier and Turgis.
Mm.
Anyway, I'm not sure if anybody, I mean, on that basis, Hugo Hall's
Ooh,
won a Tour de France stage. There
yeah.
you go.
I don't think he's done
Um,
anything since then, but yeah.
Exactly, but neither had Turgis since that Milano San Remo podium, so I'm
I'm
not
still, by the
writing anything
way,
off.
as we've scrolled past him, I'm still waiting for Kuzmin to do something after you recommended him.
When did I recommend him?
He-
Which race was it?
He's basically every race he's been available for 4 credits. You've gone, yeah, he's.
I swear yeah, I think he finished like 29th or 28th in
Yeah.
GC in Torino, and that's like a
I'm
win
almost
for
picking
me.
him just because he's on a starter at the moment, but
Uh,
I didn't realize how old he
Mil
was though. He's like 28 or 29.
yeah. Malaysia, I think last year in the Giro got a couple of top 15s in the
But
time
he went
trials.
into red at the start, didn't he? Or was that the year before? DSM won the
I
time trial in the rain.
Oh yeah, it was. That was the one where Remco was
Yeah,
not
2 years
happy.
ago. Yeah,
Um,
Plank.
Remy Rojas, possibly. Stork, I actually
Oh,
quite like.
Bard sang.
Who?
Bard sang. Svedstad
Oh,
Bard sang. This guy, he top 10 at Oman,
oh, oh yeah. Oh
I think.
yes.
And if you look at Arcade's team, there's nothing else there, so you might as well pick him.
Yeah.
He's pretty young as well. I think he's one of these up and coming. Like he'll probably be on Uno X in 1 or 2 seasons because I'm going to guess he's Norwegian, but he could be Swedish.
There it is. Yeah, you are
With that
absolutely
name,
right.
he's either Norwegian or Swedish. So,
Yeah. I like Stork. He was top 10 in that first Tour of the Alps stage, which was quite a
Mm.
surprise for me. And he
and he
won
won. What he
some
won one of the highly rated Mallorca Challenge races at the beginning of the year as well.
he won one of those Spanish one-day races that peppers the February period.
Mm.
And
Dylan Van Baal for the time trials
yeah, it's kind of mad that he's 4
and
credits.
assist points.
Yeah, and assist points. Very true. Taco, he's another
Mhm.
Grand Tour winner. Grand Tour stage winner, not Grand Tour winner. Gies van Hoke, I'm going to die on this hill. This guy was sprinting at Tour of Guangxi last year, and he is going to come back one of these days and sprint again. I just don't know if it's going to be this time around or not. And that's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
There's not even any weird and wonderful pro teams on 4 points of any, that you want to suddenly think they're going to go in every break and get points left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Apart from the Bayesses, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Is there a Bardiani guy, Max Marcelucci? He does stuff like breakaways, doesn't he?
Didn't he come? Was it Marcelluzzi who was like third on a stage of Gran Camino?
Yeah, something like that.
It was some. It was some.
He
It was
was,
like
it was,
stage two.
yeah. I swear he was right at the beginning of the year when we were talking about Strada or Milan
Yeah.
San Remo, where it's like which Bardiani is going to go in the break, and it was probably him. I can't remember, but
Yeah. Maestri as well for breakaways. Pretty
well,
nice.
Maestri is it? Am I thinking right? Maestri used to sprint as well, or is that the different?
No, you are right. It was in a
Yeah,
stage of Torino this year. He was top 10 after being in a break pretty much all day.
he's
But
such a
my
veteran. He'll just go and do
my
whatever he wants.
Maestri can't. Well, I mean, they could have a Maestri and two Bias. They could have a team time trial.
that's very true. Was it
Um,
Maestri who was second behind Alaphilippe last year at
Yeah,
Stage
yeah,
Alpha?
yeah.
yes,
Yeah, it was. So that's another
the-
option.
I mean,
I mean, I haven't really used any fours at all. I mean, well, like you were saying, Pat, I haven't even looked really at the fours until now.
Yeah,
And
that is
I'm wishing I hadn't even bothered.
an apocalypse.
Because now I'm thinking, well, if I cheat, I could increase some points on somebody else. But then I think, well, no, because I didn't pick them to start with.
Yeah, exactly. You
So,
start thinking, oh yeah, I could save credits and put it on somebody else, and then it throws your whole team out of balance. Before you know what's happened, you're
You've picked
nowhere
even
near where you
hater.
started. Yeah. Before you know what's happening, you got Ethan Hayter on your team and Adam Yates, and you've lost the plot.
Don't slander my team like that.
I mean, then you said that Archaea team was a bit weak, let's say.
Yeah.
But there's a rider, Simon Guglielmi. I swear this was the guy that scored like 300 points on last year's Vuelta with like 5 or 6 top 15s in stages. It's quite an okay climber. He's punchy. He can do some medium mountains. I think it was him. If
Hmm.
it was him, it's actually an interesting option.
Yeah. I think I remember him from Tour de la Provence earlier this year. This is like really instant, like bringing back some memories.
Oh yeah, he was
Germani's all
seventh
right at
on a stage of the
TT.
Vuelta last year. Interesting.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, in fear of us all just losing our minds in this four credit area, um, hang on, I'm just
you
figuring
put
out who
Emmett in your team.
yeah, we'll go through who's on people's teams. I put Lipins in instead of Harper, which was just because of
That's fine. That's fine.
John persuading me. So yeah, this is my team. Obviously, with Steinhauser's recent breaking news, this might change.
Which breaking news is that?
Apparently he's going to be working for Carapaz or rather go for his own ambitions.
Okay.
But so this is
Yeah,
my
that'll go
team.
well.
I got Roglic, Ayuso, Bardet, Steinhauser, Groves, Harper, Tarling, Poles, and Coy. I'm pretty happy with that, to be fair, because I've got the two best GC riders in this race and probably the two fastest sprinters in this race. And then just a load of solid
Mhm.
8 and 6s. I might go with Fortunato. That's not Fortunato. That's Go Do. I do not want to. I do
Don't pick
not
a
want to
do.
do that. Do not give me that. Or I go with Pool and go double DSM. But that seems like it's like a DSM pick, Nick Posnell. So this is my team at the moment. Is my thinking is that I think there will be better teams out there which might sacrifice one of Roglic or Ayuso, but I'm sort of on the rise in the stage race championship. I think I'm like 150th, and I just sort of want a solid Giro just to build upon rather than
You
trying
picked the
to
wrong
take
team
some
for that.
massive risk. Yeah, true. Well,
You
I'll tell you
need to
what,
put Emils back in.
I
Then
know,
you'll be
no,
dead.
that's John. He's gonna get 50 points.
On
That's
a
the
good
That
day.
many?
Yeah. I'm just going for like a safety approach. I just want to get a solid 3 grand tours for the first time in forever in VELOGAMES. I always fluke, like, do bad in 1 or 2 of them. So I'm just gonna go for a safety first approach. But I think we'll all just, who's on your team at this moment in time. Dan, why don't you take us through who's on your team? And maybe later we'll I don't know. I'll get you guys to send me a screenshot or something so I can put it up on screen or something.
I mean, it's a bit. Well, I hate to use the word template because we don't know what the template is, but it's similar to yours. Just a few differences. So we've got Roglic and Ayuso, then got Ciccone and Steinhauser, Groves, Pidcock, Poles, Tarling, and Fetan. So yeah, I'm I'm pretty happy with it. It hasn't changed in a whole 6 hours,
Wow. Good job.
which is a long time for me. Um, I don't see myself changing it because I seem to end up with needing either 102 or 98, being on 98 when I change it around. But now I honestly hadn't needed to look at the fours, and I've seen Eulalio, and I just feel like I want to for Eulalio. I don't need to. So yeah, it's just because there's so little to pick from in that climber category. But that's where I am, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Okay, good. Irfan, who's on your team at the moment?
There's Roglic, Ayuso, Ciccone, Fortunato, Mads, um, Ben Turner, Joshua Tarling, Watford, and the last one I'm not so sure about it. I'm still thinking between either Chris Harper, Matteo Moschetti, or there's a guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, Michael Zichler. That's because of his time trial abilities.
So at the moment, we're 3 for 3 on the Roglic and a Yuzo combo. Pedro, are you making that 4 out of 4?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've tried the, you know, Ardensman, and then as the wild card, I think it was Tiberi option, but I did not like that. So I just switched to Roglic, Ayuso, Ciccone, Bardet, Fretin, Pidcock, Tarling, Poles, and Groves. I had Mads earlier when I jumped on the podcast, but I can't leave Pidcock out of this one. I had to do some changes, and I just fitted Groves as a wild card and got Pidcock. Because I think, like I said, you'll probably help carry my team with some nice points until the last week.
Yeah. Very
I
good.
swear, if there was someone who would have picked Carapaz, I would have expected it to be Pedro. What happened?
Yeah, I know.
I had a
Oh,
version of my team with him. I think I had a print screen. Oh yeah. I think it was instead of Bardet, I had Carapaz, and I had Scaroni instead of Pidcock, and Guglielmi, something like that. It was last night. It was late, and I was trying to sleep, and I kept seeing. I swear, I could last night. I could tell you from the top of my head, like 100 riders, their pricing, and the category they were in. I swear.
dude, I'm so bad for that.
Yeah.
But sometimes my parents will ask me, they're like, "Oh, do you remember when that person did that race?" And I was like, Oh yes, that was this rider. It was in this race, and they cost 6 credits. And they were like, I'm like, why do I remember the price of Patrick Conrad in the 2019 Tour de France? That just doesn't. That's not right. That's
Well,
not a healthy thing.
It's not healthy, yeah.
the great one it was either 2016 or 2017 Giro, and Carapaz and Conrad were completely unknown riders, and they were both 6 credit unclassified, and they both came
Yeah,
top 10.
yeah.
Still my favorite Giro 2017.
No,
That's
it's
going to be
gotta
hard for
be
this year. That's hard for this
Yes.
year.
for me. It's
Yeah.
gotta be the Almeida pick in his first Giro
Oh yeah,
d'Italia.
in the
Yeah,
Giro.
That was crazy. I
that
mean,
was crazy. Anyway, John, who's on your team?
Right. I started with Roglic and Ayuso, and then I thought I've run out of credit, so I've made some changes. I've got Roglic, Del Toro, Chico, Bardet, Mads, Pidcock, Wells, Valgren, and Olav Koy. Because I couldn't cope with having Roglic, Ayuso, and Mads in my team.
Yeah. Yeah, if there was going to be one person who needed to have Mads in my team, it was going to be you, John, as the Lidl Trek correspondent. I was going to be really disappointed if that wasn't the case. So that's good to hear. No, I like that. I like the Groves,
Um,
and so does everybody have like a two sprinter setup? Is that right?
One and a
yeah,
half. Yeah.
well,
Mm.
Because
yeah.
I think
Um,
Fretan
Yeah,
he could win as many stages as Coy, because I think I have no idea what I'm basing this off, but I think he's the second fastest sprinter in the race. I just don't think he'll win. I don't think he'll be going for Chiclamino, so I'm just going for points efficiency, and also because I've spent 10 credits. I've spent 10 credits on Pidcock, so I have to save somewhere.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
know what you mean.
I'd be surprised to see Freta under 700, 750 points.
Yeah. It'll be a bit like Gaviria from the tour last year, where he just very stealthily just got up to like
Mm.
600 points pretty quickly. I did have an iteration of a team where I did have Pidcock in. I didn't have Coy, I had Rensman, and I didn't have Fortunato, and I had Frigo. It was just a lot of sacrifice to get Pidcock in there, and I generally just prefer. I was like, Pidcock's gonna do good, but they're very like equally as good 6 credit riders, and I just
Mm.
like that. I think that Coy is the fastest in the race, and I was like, I'm gonna be able to sleep pretty easy knowing I've got like the two best GCs and probably like
Mm.
two of the best sprinters in the race.
Well, like you said, with Poles would have been much easier if he was a 6 credit climber. Pidcock
Yeah,
for me would have been much easier if he was a 10 credit climber.
yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
I want about 6 riders from the Unclass category, and two
Yeah,
of them are locked, unfortunately, with Poles and Tarling. So
yeah, yeah. There's so many to be going at, but I guess we'll round this up here. So if people out there have made it to this point in the video, congratulations. Be sure to put your teams in the comment sections and let us know any, I don't know, let us know what you think of anything that we've said, any people that we might have missed out, any hidden gems that we're all overlooking that we should all be putting on to our teams. And yeah, all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and we will see you in the next video. Ciao.